Today we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Before we get started, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you're listening at or viewing at. If you're seeing this clip on TikTok or Instagram, make sure to follow over there. The Buccaneers last year were 8-9, and that was good enough to win the NFC South. It was obviously a very poor division, and they obviously had Tom Brady. So where do they go from here? They signed Baker Mayfield in the offseason. They also have Kyle Trask as a backup. They named Baker Mayfield as the starting quarterback. I could see that being a switch somewhere in the middle of the season. Maybe even earlier than that. We'll see. We'll see. We all know the viral clip of them just missing every single throw at practice. I don't think Baker Mayfield's going to be that bad. I'm just saying if he does struggle, I don't think they're going to give him a whole lot of leeway with Kyle Trask there as well. The running back room. Rachaad White's going to get a lot of touches this year. He's going to be their lead back. Keyshawn Vaughn's probably going to get some touches. And then in the passing game, Chase Edmonds is going to get probably some playing time, but Rachaad White, especially for fantasy users, I think he's going to get a lot of usage this year. This is where I'm kind of torn with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because in the wide receiver room, you still have Mike Evans and you still have Chris Godwin. These are two elite wide receivers. Now, can they be elite with Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask? Time will tell. They drafted Trey Palmer in the 6th round. He's going to be probably in that third receiver conversation for them, get some touches, but it's going to be a lot of Mike Evans and a lot of Chris Godwin. I just don't know how much that's going to be used in this offense. Is it going to be more of a run offense with Rachaad White and kind of just Keyshawn Vaughn and Chase Edmonds getting a lot of touches, or are they going to try to use Mike Evans and Chris Godwin more, even with lesser quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask? Again, time will tell. I know fantasy users are very weary, I should say, on using Mike Evans or getting Mike Evans because of that. So tight end room, Cade Otton is their main tight end here. Tight ends are not going to be a big usage here in Tampa Bay, which is kind of odd because in the past few years they have been with Gronkowski and Cameron Brate and guys like that. But Cade Otton is going to be their number one tight end. Offensive line, Tristan Wirfs is still there. Overall, last year was pretty shaky. Didn't protect Tom Brady very well. They had a lot of issues. I'll get to the defense in a second. That's why they were 8-9, a very much a disappointment, and ended up losing in the first round to the Dallas Cowboys. With Tristan Wirfs still there, he's going to be solid, but the offensive line overall is going to be something I'm not real high on. Moving on to the defense, last year they were 13th overall in total defense. Was actually better than what I thought it was going to be. On the defensive line, they don't have a lot of big names. William Golston had 4.5 sacks last year. They got Greg Gaines from the Rams. He had 4.5 sacks. And of course, they had Vita Vea still there. He had 6.5 sacks last year. They're going to need somebody to really show out on that defensive line. Linebacker wise, though, if they can get enough production out of Levante David, who's 33 years old, and if Shaquille Barrett, who can come back, he was out last year, got injured in week 8 with a torn ACL. If he can come back and be great again, this whole team defensively is it kind of makes people feel comfortable in their roles a little bit more. In 2019, I don't think people remember this. In 2019, he had 19.5 sacks. Shaquille Barrett, still in his mid-20s, can get it done. But can he get back to pretty much prime Shaquille Barrett after having that injury last year? Again, time will tell. Time will tell with a lot of things with this roster here. But Levante David, like I said, is 33 years old now. Don't know how much his production's gone down a little bit. He did play every game last year. And then Devin White on the other side needs to take a leap. With Levante David's talent or skill level, I should say, coming down a little bit, his production coming down, they need Devin White to take that step forward. And of course, like I said, Shaquille Barrett, they need him to get back to what he was a couple of years ago. For the cornerbacks, they have Carlton Davis. He's been there for quite a while now, and they got Jamel Dean. And then in the safety room, they have Antoine Winfield Jr. He's obviously been there for a while. And they got Ryan Neal in this offseason from Seattle. So kind of like the safeties there. Cornerbacks, we'll see how Carlton and Jamel do. But overall, it really depends on that defensive line to me. And the linebacker room. Like, can the linebacker room be as elite as they were a couple of years ago? We will see. Moving on to the schedule a little bit here. They have week 1 at the Minnesota Vikings. I have a loss here. Week 2 at home versus the Bears, a win. Week 3 versus the Eagles at home, I have a loss here. And then week 4 at the Saints, I have a loss here as well. So 1-3 to start the year, and they have a really early bye in week 5. Week 6 is at home versus the Lions. I actually have a sneaky win here. Week 7 at home versus the Falcons, a loss. Week 8 at the Bills, a loss. And then week 9 at the Texans, a loss. Now, I had to go back to my Texans video to make sure I gave the Texans a win here. So that's a very winnable game, obviously, for the Buccaneers, but I have them losing at the Texans, which is 2 wins in their first, 2-7, 2-6 to start the year. Week 10 at home versus the Titans, I have a win here. Week 11 at the 49ers, a loss. Week 12 at the Colts, a loss. That's another very winnable game. Week 13 at home versus the Panthers, a loss. Week 14 at the Falcons, a win. Week 15 at the Packers, a loss. Week 16 at home versus the Jaguars, a win. And then week 17 at the Saints, a loss. Week 18 at the Panthers, a loss. Now, I gave them a record of 5-12 for this year. I'm kind of regretting that already. Obviously, these schedules are going to change at the year. I mean, I'm going to do my week by week predictions on TikTok for you guys and stuff like that. But 5-12 is what I have them at. I'm probably going to leave more in that 6-7 win range. Now, if Baker Mayfield somehow shows out, and I know that we've been all saying that for years now with Cleveland, but if he somehow gets a rhythm going with this offense, they could be an 8 or 9 win team. And then with this division, it's going to be hard to predict who's going to win this division. I obviously think the Saints are going to win it, but we will see. I have them falling in last place this year. I gave the Panthers and the Falcons a little bit of an edge over them, but it could be flip flopped the other way around. Overall, though, I have 5-12. This is a team I'm also very interested in because they could go worse than that. They could go higher than that. They could go just at 5-12. It's really hard to predict this division as a whole. But that wraps it up for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We have the New England Patriots next. We're starting to get into playoff teams now, which is going to get very interesting. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe wherever you're listening at or viewing at, and we will see you guys for the next one.